As he walked home, Obina's mind raced with thoughts and questions. How would he explain this to his parents? What would happen to his future? What would he tell Adana, the girl he was supposed to marry? How could he live in the village like this? And most of all, was there any way to undo what the mask had done to him? As he approached his family's compound, he saw his parents sitting outside. His mother was the first to notice him. "Obina," she called out, "you're late for dinner. Where have you been?" Obina couldn't meet their eyes. He stood there shifting from foot to foot, his voice barely above a whisper. "Mother, father, something terrible has happened." His father frowned, setting down the cola nut he was eating. "What is it, my son? You look like you've seen a ghost." Obina took a deep breath, tears already forming in his eyes. I went to the old shrine. There was a mask inside, and when I touched it..." His voice broke, and he had to force out the words. "It cursed me. My manhood is gone." There was a moment of stunned silence. Then his father exploded in anger. "Foolish boy!" Obina's father roared, jumping to his feet so quickly that his chair fell backwards with a loud clatter. His face turned red with anger, and the veins in his neck bulged as he shouted, "We warned you many times. We told you over and over to stay away from that cursed shrine. Don't you understand? Ancient spirits are not something to play with." Obina's mother let out a gasp of shock. Her hands flew to her mouth, covering it as her eyes grew wide with fear and disbelief. "Oh, Obina," she whispered, her voice trembling. Tears began to form in her eyes. "What have you done, my son? What terrible thing have you brought upon yourself?" Obina couldn't bear to see the disappointment and fear in his parents' eyes. His legs felt weak, and he fell to his knees on the hard-packed dirt floor. Tears streamed down his face as he began to sob uncontrollably. His whole body shook with each breath he took. "I'm sorry," Obina cried out, his voice breaking. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know this would happen. I didn't think it was real. I thought it was just an old story to scare children." He looked up at his parents, his eyes pleading, "Please help me. There must be something we can do to fix this." His father paced back and forth, his footsteps heavy with anger and worry. He ran his hand over his face, trying to calm himself down. "Help you?" he said, his voice a mix of frustration and despair. "How can we help you, Obina?" "This is beyond our power. We are simple farmers, not dibia or witch doctors." Obina's mother knelt down beside him. Torn between comforting her son and being angry at his disobedience, she reached out a shaking hand and gently touched Obina's shoulder. "My son," she said softly, "we told you to stay away for a reason. That shrine has been forbidden for generations. The elders say it holds powers from the old times, powers that we no longer understand." Obina looked up at his mother, his face wet with tears. "But why didn't you tell me what would happen? Why didn't you explain?" His father stopped pacing and turned to face Obina. "Because we didn't know exactly what would happen," he said, his voice calmer now, but still filled with disappointment. "We only knew it would be bad. The stories passed down from our ancestors were not clear. They only warned of great misfortune for those who dared to enter the shrine." As the night grew deeper, Obina lay on his sleeping mat, unable to close his eyes. His mind was like a river overflowing its banks, filled with worries and fears that wouldn't stop. How could he face the village now? What would become of his life? But even in this dark time, a tiny bit of hope remained in Obina's heart. It was small, like the flame of a dying candle, but it refused to go out completely. Obina knew he had to find a way to break the curse and become a man again. As he stared at the thatched roof, counting the wooden beams, For what felt like the 100th time, a sudden thought flashed through his mind.